Hi there, I'm Michaela, and this is my vision of early literacy instruction, and I am in Emergent Literacy the summer of 2016. In the past 2 weeks, I have learned how important fluency and phonics are in the emergent literature classroom. I was unaware of how crucial it is to have a literature-rich environment. In my future early elementary classroom, I will make sure that I incorporate a balanced fluency curriculum, spelling, and adopt various strategies in order to help my students succeed. Phonics in my future classroom are going to be very important. I want my students to be able to use word families, to be able to use decoding strategies, to be able to use our vowel pairs and our vowel digraphs in order to figure out words on their own. I can do this by having word family posters posted along my walls. I can do word family games. We can focus on a certain word family each day. I think this is really important because so many of words in the emergent literacy classroom are a part of word families. So the more familiar and the more common we make them in our classroom, the more the students are going to be able to use that strategy. Decoding strategies are also very important. I want my students to be able to read and be able to use these strategies to figure out the sound of the word. Does the A make the A sound or the A sound? Is there a silent E? I want my students to know all of these tools and tricks. That way when they're reading, they can independently figure out the sounds. I also want my students to become phonemically aware, and I can do this by incorporating some of the games we talked about in class. So having students focusing on rhyming of words, segmentation of words, isolation, blending, deletion, and substitution. These are all important ways to get students to become phonemically aware. So the more available I make these resources and the more I make these strategies familiar, the better my students are going to do with phonics. The overall goal is for our students to be fluent in phonics, which leads us to fluency, which is the big word that keeps getting thrown around. And that's because fluency is our overall goal when reading, but also when writing. So in my classroom, I would love to teach reading and writing together because I feel like when you put the two together, your reading and your writing is going to increase or become better. Fluency is making sure our students are achieving speed and accuracy and expression and prosody when they are reading. So they're not just only recognizing the words, but they're also building understanding and comprehension of what they've been reading. So all of these little components of fluency are going to help our student become fluent. I can incorporate fluency in the classroom by having them read poems, by having them do roll and read activities. Just by having our students read, and reread, the more practice our students have, the more fluent they're going to become. And this goes for writing as well. The more we have our students write, the more writing we have our students read, the better and more fluent they're going to be in writing. Vocabulary in my classroom is also going to be a big deal. I think vocabulary is very important because we use vocabulary every day. We want our students to use colorful and creative and larger vocabulary. We want our students to be able to speak and to write vocabulary words. So a way to make vocabulary fun in my classroom, I will incorporate vocabulary games. So like my picture, vocabulary basketball. Something that's competitive, something that's engaging, something that's fun for the students, so that way they can make meaning. It's important that vocabulary isn't just defined. It's important that our students can use these words in sentences. Give us a synonym, an antonym, that they can draw this picture, that they can act it out. I have this picture posted here of 7 best ways to introduce new vocabulary. And these ways are all fun. It's not just reading and writing the definition 100 times so that way they understand it. It's really having them experience what the word means, having them make connections to what the words mean. And vocab words differ from sight words because sight words are words that are frequent. So our vocab words are going to be words that are content related. So with our sight words, like I said, these words are frequent. They see them constantly when they're reading. They see them constantly when they're writing. So words like the, me, that, to. These words are all important that students can just read them and write them quickly. They don't need to struggle on how to spell the. They don't have to spend 5 minutes trying to figure out what the word that means. These words are frequent and quick, and the best way that I can make these words familiar in my classroom is by having a sight word wall. Having an organized word wall that students can use as a resource. These words are very important, so it's important that we play fun games, that students can read it, that they can build it, that they can write it. It's important that they incorporate all these different strategies to know how to use sight words. So why is having a literacy-rich classroom important to me? Having a literacy-rich classroom is important because we want our students to become fluent, and if we don't provide them with the resources they need to become fluent, then they're not going to become fluent readers or writers. By providing them with the materials, with the games, with the instruction that they need is necessary for their literacy development. So having an environment that supports literacy, it's going to help our students become phonemically aware, to help them achieve new levels in phonics, to become fluent with vocab and sight words and comprehension. We want to make sure that our classrooms are purposeful and intentional, and that every book we have on our shelf and every writing resource we have is going to benefit that student. So it's important to have literacy-rich classrooms because we want our students to have literacy-rich experiences. We want our students to become literate. We want our students to build comprehension. We want our students to do all these things, and if we don't support that and don't provide them with the materials they need, then they're not going to achieve those levels. So that is why it is important to me, because I want my students to succeed someday, and I want to be able to provide them with the resources and the experiences that they need. And here are my resources. Thank you.